Wall Street indices notch modest gains with the Dow Jones ending over 300 points higher, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq also ending in the green as bond yields drop, while stocks of Alphabet and AMD put pressure on the Nasdaq. Asian markets mirror Wall Street's moves to start the day on a positive note. The GIFT Nifty is also indicating a higher start for the Indian markets. Oil prices have slipped on rising U.S. crude inventories and worry about the China-U.S. trade war impacting economic growth. Gold prices, though, remain near record highs. 6 Nifty companies, including SBI, report results today. The big number, and that will be the big number to watch out for. Slippages are expected to rise. Asset quality is likely to remain stable, while for ITC, cigarette volume growth is seen at 3 to 4%. Also watch out for numbers from Britannia, Hero Motocorp, Bharti Airtel and Trent. And a majority of the exit polls are predicting a BJP win in Delhi as voting for the 70 assembly seats draws to a close. One poll is predicting dead heat, while results will be declared on the 8th of February. An earnings-heavy day, a weekly options expiry of all the ingredients set for an action-packed day. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC-TV18 in the Mumbai News Centre. I'm Hormis Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets have started off. It's a green screen, if you can call it that. It's mostly in the green. Hang Seng also, after yesterday's underperformance, is trading with gains of around 0.25%. The Taiwanese index, though, continues to outperform as it has all through the week, 0.5% higher there. Indices in Japan are flat. Indices in China are flat as well, but are trading above the flat line. And the Kospi is the outperformer today, trading with gains of around 0.7%. So it's a green screen across Asia. Some heart for the bulls to take, and of course pull up the GIFT Nifty, and that will give you an idea of how we are likely to start off. A 40-point uptick so far is what the implied open is suggesting. So we're likely to open higher, but whether that up move sustains or not, especially considering we are heading towards an important event tomorrow, remains to be seen. But the handover from Wall Street was a positive one, and the indices there ended Wednesday's trading session with gains. The Dow ended over 300 points higher. The S&P 500 also gained around 0.4%. The Nasdaq ended higher, that is courtesy of Nvidia, and despite shares of Alphabet declining almost 7% after the tech giant reported its fourth quarter results that were a miss on expectations. CNBC's Bertha Coombs gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were up across the major indexes Wednesday, rebounding after an early decline led by disappointing earnings from Google parent Alphabet. The Dow rising 317 points. The S&P 500 was up 24, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq gained 38. More jobs were added in the private sector than expected last month, according to payroll processing firm ADP, which says 183,000 new jobs were created in January. But while the headline numbers topped expectations, the gains were not evenly distributed. All of the new jobs came from the service sector, the bulk of them in trade, transportation, and utilities, along with leisure and hospitality. Meantime, those who stayed in their jobs saw pay growth at an annual rate of 4.7%, a slight increase from last month. The United States Postal Service said Wednesday that it would resume accepting packages from China and Hong Kong just hours after it had suspended service from both places. The move comes days after President Trump imposed an additional 10% tariff on all Chinese imports. Postal Service didn't say why it had suspended service, but the move did come after those tariffs went into effect. Those new tariffs will end an exemption for Chinese goods valued under $800 to ship here to the U.S. duty-free, which could affect e-commerce sites like Chinese retailers Shein and Temu, which have used the exemption to undercut competitors with lower prices. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back over to you in Mumbai.
And tariffs, that is still the big talking point among economists and investors alike in the US. And on that note, let us also listen into what some of these experts have to say on this potential tariff impact.
In terms of what have been the results over the last 8 years of these policies is something worth evaluating, and then also seeing about what else can be done to help increase US share in global manufacturing if that's the ultimate aim. one thing which clearly doesn't help is a stronger dollar. So under that environment, the US is very uncompetitive, and that doesn't help its cause. And every time there is news of tariffs, the dollar only tends to appreciate, which is counterproductive and something that's happened over the last 8 years. So that's a very important policy tool the US also needs to keep into account.
Watching laws being made is kind of like watching sausage being made. You really don't want to see it. And maybe that's the same thing with tariffs. It's too visible here, and there's a lot of negotiating going on. And we start out on Monday with the market being freaked out, and by late in the afternoon, Mexico gives Trump something, and he says, "Okay, we'll postpone things." So it's a negotiating game, and I'm not sure it's really all about tariffs per se. It's not just a tariff war. It's a war over national security, a war over drugs. There are a lot of issues involved here, and the market's saying, well, what does this really have to do with us?
That's the global market action, a relatively positive handover, and of course the Asian screen looking green as well. But how will all of this impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in with how the trade setup is likely to look like, the stocks that are likely to be in focus as well. Firstly, Vinny is here to get us all the market cues we need to watch out for. Vinny, good morning. A day of consolidation yesterday, but it's a very, very big day today. What's the setup looking like?
Absolutely an interesting day, because yesterday was a very range-bound session. Now we want to see actually if we are going to see the Nifty pick up from those levels. Nifty managed to close just below the 23,700 level, slightly below that mark. So keep an eye out on what we're going to be seeing in terms of levels. Where is it going to be moving, and will we be able to actually pick up some pace? Because today is Nifty weekly expiry, so it's going to be some volatility that maybe we could see. Mid and small cap that outperformed in yesterday's trading session. Is that going to build up on it? Is something to watch out for. Now, FIIs and DIIs, what are we seeing in terms of flows coming in? FIIs, there was only one day that they bought in between, but doesn't seem like it has continued. And yesterday, FIIs sold around 1,682 crores. DIIs bought around 996 crores. Factors that we're keeping an eye out on, continue to watch out for those geopolitical issues, trade wars that are starting. So, the trade war updates that one could see coming in, keep an eye out on that. Nifty weekly expiry, key to watch out on that front. Earnings, a whole host of earnings. We'll have SBI, Airtel, ITC, Hero Moto, Britannia, a whole host of numbers expected today. Some volatility one could watch out for in these stocks on the back of their earnings. And rupee, keep an eye out on that. Yesterday hit record low. Today what's going to happen is key to watch out for.
Interesting, 6 Nifty earnings and a lot of broader market earnings today. Vinny, thanks a lot for that. Over to Vamakshi now, who will list out the stocks that you need to watch in today's session. Vamakshi, good morning. What's on your list?
Well, good morning, Hormaz. Let me first start off with Swiggy. Quick commerce revenue saw an uptick of 114% year-on-year. EBIT losses widened to 528 crores. As far as food delivery is concerned, the revenue was up nearly 23.5%, and the EBIT saw a massive expansion from 26 crores to 193 crores. But the net loss overall for the company expanded to nearly 800 crores. Cummins, on the other hand, reported a good set of numbers. Revenue, margin, as well as net profit came in ahead of street's expectations. Revenue saw a strong uptick of 21.8%, even on a higher base. Margins, sort of declined to 19.4%. The net profit saw a strong growth of 13% year-on-year. Welspun Corp's revenue declined by nearly 24%. Margins have improved to 12%. The net profit is seeing a very sharp surge, and that is mainly on account of profit, which includes nearly 378 crores of proceeds achieved via sale of shares of East Pipes Integrated Company. Reddington is the next counter we're watching out for. Revenue saw an uptick of 13.7%. This is the company's highest ever quarterly revenue. The margins have improved marginally to 2.3%, and the net profit saw a strong uptick of nearly 16%. Kansai Nerolac revenue was rather flat at 1,922 crores. Margins have declined slightly to 12.2%, and the net profit is seeing a strong surge driven by nearly 665 crores of profit from the sale of land.
Interesting, Vamakshi, thanks a lot for that. And lastly, Mangalam joins in with cues from the F&O space. Mangalam, good morning. A day of consolidation for the indices yesterday, but what's the F&O data indicating?
Well, a lot of triggers today, right? The day of consolidation, like you pointed out, we had the Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank, both of them meandering around the flat line. The Nifty Bank, however, was a shade better, led higher by HDFC Bank. The mid-cap index doing a lot better again, telling you that there is support at lower levels for the market. The bulls would like that. The important part today is that there are 6 Nifty companies reporting their numbers. Chances are most of them will be reporting post market close itself, so there will be reaction tomorrow. Alongside that, we have the Nifty weekly options expiry today and the RBI policy outcome tomorrow. So those are factors that the street will keep an eye out on. Remember, the FI is bought in cash markets day before yesterday. Yesterday, they went back to their selling ways, sold about 1,700 odd crores as well. But they are continuing to buy in index futures. Yesterday, the purchase was close to 633 crores, where they covered about 600 short contracts, added 3,500 long contracts. And over the last few trading sessions, if you notice, the FII long exposure has increased from 10% to 18%, but they're still net short to the tune of 1.5 lakh contracts itself. On expiry day, it's typically the 23,750 or a straddle, which is a call and a put together, which is active, and 23,750 is the one which is fairly active. 23,750 call, 42 rupees in premium. 23,750 put, 130 rupees in premium. Add all of that together, get about 150 rupees. The option writers are positioned for a range of 23,600 to 23,900 on the Nifty. But on the way up, the key technical level will be the 50-day moving average for both the Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank. Those levels up for you on the screen. Just watch out for Abbott. That stock suddenly saw a lot of long positions being added in yesterday's trading session after a big 6% up move yesterday.
Keep an eye out on that. Mangalam, thanks a lot for that update. Time for a short break. Up next, we get you the key expectations from India's largest lender, State Bank of India, that reports results today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Back with us here on Power Breakfast. On to key earnings expectations. State Bank of India reports numbers later today. Abhishek is joining in with the key expectations from this quarter. Abhishek, good morning.
Good morning, Homa. So this is the last large bank to report Q3 FY25 numbers. The key things to watch out for will be the fact that deposit growth may not keep in pace with the industry growth that you are seeing with respect to deposits. Advances growth will remain healthy. Kotak Securities estimates advances growth of 13% YOY and about 3% quarter-on-quarter. Net interest margin, that can come under slight pressure on a YOY basis but improve on a sequential basis. Again, Kotak Securities estimates 1 basis point decline YOY and about 3 basis point improvement in net interest margin on a sequential basis. Now, OPEX will remain low and that will aid the operating profit. However, watch out for the treasury gains. Last time it was around 4,400 crore. It might not be in this quarter, so operating profits can get impacted from the lower treasury income as well. Slippages can rise sequentially. Kotak Securities estimates quarterly slippage ratio of about 1.5% versus 0.5% in the previous quarter. Recovery and upgrades will be on the lower side, so watch out for the write-off, which might remain elevated. Asset quality is expected to improve. Motilal Oswal estimates gross NPA ratio of 2.04% versus 2.13% in the previous quarter. They also anticipate net NPA ratio to be at 0.5% versus 0.53% in the previous quarter. Management commentary with respect to business growth, net interest margin and return ratios going ahead will be seen closely. Now, our poll suggests NII growth of 7% YOY and about 2.3% sequentially. We are working with a profit growth of almost 76% YOY and a decline of more than 12% sequentially. Back to you.
Thanks a lot for that, Abhishek. We'll keep an eye out on that big number that is State Bank of India, scheduled to be reported later this afternoon. Moving on then, US President Donald Trump is likely to host Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a dinner on the 12th of February. Sources have said that the two leaders will have a bilateral and delegation level meeting with a trade agreement on the anvil. Parikshit is joining in now with more details on that. Parikshit.
Well, all eyes on that big meeting on the 13th of February, that is next week. We have been told by sources that Donald Trump will be hosting Prime Minister Modi for a dinner at the White House on 12th evening, the day he arrives in the United States. 13th will be the day of key meetings when they will meet bilaterally, one-on-one, and delegate-level talks will also take place. Now, trade will be very high on the agenda. Trump will want answers on how India is going to resolve that trade deficit with India. One way that India could do is by offering to procure more C-130 Hercules transport aircraft for the Indian armed forces from the US. Secondly, to buy more P-8I maritime patrol aircraft for the Indian Navy from the United States. So these two options may be pitched to Donald Trump and the US administration. At the same time, both leaders may declare a strong intent in their press conference to sign an early trade deal as early as 7 to 8 months. That is when the US President Donald Trump visits India this year for the Quad Summit. So that is something that remains to be seen. But definitely the trade deficit would be high on the agenda. There will also be a community event which the PM may address. The details of the same are being worked out.
Parikshit, thanks a lot for that. Now, this high-stakes battle for the Delhi Assembly has drawn to a close. Most exit polls are predicting an edge for the Bharatiya Janata Party over the ruling Aam Aadmi Party in the Delhi Assembly polls, while the Congress is unlikely to make any significant gains. Pollsters like P. Mark, JVC, Poll Diary and Chanakya Strategies are pointing to a comfortable victory for the BJP. However, exit polls by Matriz pointing to a cliffhanger, while both BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party locked in a dead heat. Pollsters like People's Pulse and People's Insights are predicting a thumping victory for the BJP. Another pollster called V Preside is predicting a big victory for the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, the Election Commission will announce the official results after the counting on the 8th of February. I take a short break. More on the commodities market on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back on to Cues from the commodity space now. Manisha Gupta is joining in. Manisha, good morning. What are you picking up today?
Looking at the crude oil prices, Hormuz, which have seen a decline of 2% overnight, while the U.S.-China tariff tensions just about continue, the markets really are reacting to a stronger U.S. private payrolls data at 183,000. The U.S. inventories also have gained up by 8.6 million barrels, which is the highest build in an year, and that's slightly weighing onto the markets right now. But what is really doing well is the metal as a sector. Gold prices did hit an all-time high of 2880. We're trading slightly below that, but not too far away from those all-time highs. Silver is trading at a 3-month high. The decline in dollar has led to support for copper, which is trading at 13-week highs. Lead is trading at a 6-week highs. Aluminum at 2-week highs. So, well, as you can see, barring crude, metal is really doing well.
Indeed, Manisha, thanks a lot for that. Multi-week, multi-month highs for a lot of these metals. We'll keep an eye out on our metal stocks as well in today's session. Let's also take a look before we wind up on Power Breakfast as to how the Asian markets are doing well. It was a green screen when we began the show, but the Hang Seng has come off the highs. When we began the show, it was in the green and now it's trading below the flat line. The Taiwanese index, though, continues to hold on to the gains so far, 130 points higher. There will also pull up the GIFT Nifty. That will give you an idea of how our own markets are likely to start off, and it continues to remain as it is with a 40-point uptick is what the implied open is suggesting right now. So we open higher, but it's a big day coming up today and tomorrow because of the earnings and, of course, the RBI policy. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Power Breakfast from me and the team that put this show together. Thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call sets you up for today's trade.